Hey, Chris Liepe here. Matt Shadows, M Shadows, Avenged Sevenfold. He's got an aggressive, versatile voice, great range, and a distortion or a compression-based distortion that sounds a bit like James Hetfield. In my opinion, if you can understand what Matt Shadows is doing, you can understand what James Hetfield is doing, mostly. But we're going to focus on Matt Shadows, of course. Probably do a separate video on James Hetfield. And Matt Shadows' voice is perplexing upon first or casual listening. You listen through, you're like, man, how can he get that constant grit? How does he get that constant sound and not kill his voice? In some cases, it sounds kind of unhealthy. But in a lot of other videos, I've discussed healthy distortion, pain-free distortion. And when you dig deeper into his voice, you start listening for certain things, you realize that what he's doing is a simple hypercompression-based grit or distortion. And of course, like all my sing-like videos, I'm going to dive into several musical examples from studio recordings and show you how that's done, both from a feel perspective and from a sound perspective. But I have to clarify something in terms of sound. Just because we're going to be examining the techniques that he uses, how he gets the sound he does, doesn't mean we're going to sound like Matt Shadows. I'm going to sound like me, you're going to sound like you. Our vocal tracts are different sizes and lengths, and we have different tissues, we have different backgrounds, different influences. These are all going to play into the sound that we get by using the techniques that Matt Shadows uses. So draw that distinction as you're following along with me. We're not going for the sound of Matt Shadows in terms of wanting to sound like him. We are singing like him and injecting these techniques into our own voice and accepting what happens as a creative boost into our own singing. And if you're wanting to try to sing like Matt Shadows, doing this hypercompression-based distortion, working with your mixed voice, it takes an awful lot of fundamental support, breath support, understanding how to get real power out of your voice and how to moderate your airflow. If you want to be able to do this sort of thing, to be able to get to the point where you can sing like this without pain, with endurance and creativity, be sure to click the link below and join my free vocal course. I lay the foundation for all of this there. All right, let's get started. Example 1. So this is the first kind of thing that you hear when you start listening to Matt Shadows. But as we go on, you're going to hear the different dynamics and elements of what he does. But I want to unpack this sound because when you first hear this, you just think, oh, hyper grit, he's bright, he's aggressive. How do we get there? What I'm going to do with my voice is going to make more sense as we go through the video. So make sure you watch all the examples because as I unpack this, you're going to start hearing traces of what I did at the beginning of this video throughout. So if we take these first few words, hate to twist your mind. Let's get the pitch. Hate to twist your mind. Hate to twist your mind. Right? That's just a normal, uninteresting way to sing those words. But what he does is he introduces a ton of compression to the point of breakup, to the point of grit. Now, this is different than the extreme breakup that I've talked about in my other videos where a singer would go for that vocal break and then really break up, like a scream, like a Sam Carter sort of. This is different than that. It's lower in range. It's all chest for the most part here. But let's go ahead and get there. Hate to break your mind. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this like I'm lifting something heavy. You've seen me do this a lot. Now, even when I'm doing this, now when I do it even more, you hear my voice breaking up, right? Hate to twist your mind. Hate to twist your mind. Stay with me. Hate to twist your mind. How much air can I hold back, right? Hate to twist your mind. At the very end, I broke up there a little bit. Now watch. Hate to twist your mind. Hate to twist your head. what I'm doing, I'm pushing from here, but I'm holding back a lot of air with my false chord area of my vocal tract. And that's above my voice box, above my primary folds. You want to feel like that grit is coming from above. You don't, that's low. That's going to make me, it's going to make me lose my voice. Hate to twist your mind. Hate to twist your mind. Hate to twist your mind. So if I back off on the grit or the compression, if I back off on the compression, I actually back off on the grit. I'm taking this hypercompression to the point that I'm squeezing so much with my false chords that they're doing this above my vocal cords. So my vocal cords are just delivering like they are when I'm speaking. Or hate to twist your mind. My vocal cords aren't doing anything more there than they are here. Hate to twist your mind. Hate to twist your mind. It's a very healthy grit. Does it sound different than what he's doing? Yeah, but it also sounds somewhat similar, and that's what he's doing to get this. And you can do that for an extended period of time, song after song, and it's not going to hurt your voice. Hate to twist your mind, but God ain't on your side. Hate to twist your mind. Hate to twist your mind, but God ain't on your side. Hate to twist your mind, but God ain't on your side. Side. That's very James Hetfield, I think, there. Side. Cleans up almost on side. Hate to twist your mind, but God ain't on your side. Side. Getting those pitches is a challenge. Hate to twist your mind, but God ain't on your side. Next, there's more of these examples. Hit the wall. A little bit higher, but you can hear with hit the wall. Hit the wall. Yeah. Hit the wall. Get those pitches first. Add the compression. Hit the wall. 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 1, 2. Hit the wall. Hit the wall. Let's try to be more consistent with our grit. Hit the wall. I can't reach that when I'm just using that sort of placement with my larynx. Hit the wall. So what I have to do here with wall, I have to accept that that's going to be this mix for me. Hit the wall, right? That's the note. But I'm going to hypercompress that. Hit the wall. Now I've got that sort of Cornelian sound, right? Like mild compression-based grit. But in this case, I am going to push up to my vocal break. And that's going to help me get that extra bit of grit because it's higher in my range. That's how I'm going to handle this. Hit the wall! Hit! 1, 2. Hit the wall! Hit the wall! Hit the wall! Good stuff. All right, moving on. Love that line. That's the similar range as the other one. Far! Let's get there. Far, far away from here! Might be how I'd sing that on a normal day. But if I want to add this hypercompression-based grit, far! The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to be very open throat-wise. Far! In terms of resonance, my larynx is low. He is low. He's not far. He's not doing crow. He's very open. Far, far away, far away. Like that. And then adding this hypercompression on top of it. So if I were to go, far away from here. No, that would be far away from here. That would be very frantic, emo, Gerard Way, maybe a little bit in there. But I'm going to keep things low and warm. My larynx is low. My soft palate is high. Oh, far, hypercompressed. Far, far to the point of squeezing the grit out. Far away from here. My voice cracked a little bit, but as you're figuring this out, you crack too. Don't be afraid to make those sounds. This is going to help you dial in the feel. I'm going to try it a few more times and really dial it in. Far away from here! Far, far away from here! Now, this is challenging for me to get this level of aggression and grit this low in my range. I'm much better when I can push up to that vocal break and let my voice crack and then rest in that or push into that. I'm much better in that area. But being able to seamlessly go between this low grade, yeah, being able to do that and then seamlessly going up into those higher notes, far away, is a really fun thing to be able to experiment with. And adjusting your approach dynamically, as you'll hear him doing in one of the later examples. Good stuff. Next. Now this one, we're low. Give taste, giving you a small taste. Let's get the vibe down and then we'll add the grit. Giving you a small taste. Taste, giving you a small taste. This is cool because he's got this grit on give, giving you above, not below. Don't Cookie Monster it. Giving you a small taste. He backs off on the compression, but still has compression. Taste. Giving you a small taste. It's not giving you a small taste. Although that could sound cool for some things. Giving you a small taste. Giving you a small taste. There's this dynamic and this soulful, almost bluesiness. Giving you a small taste. And we can really play with that. Like, where do I want to add the hypercompression-based grit versus just a lot of compression versus, more airflow versus all this stuff. And really have fun making these lines our own. Giving you a small taste. Next. Now, with this one, we're actually focused on, if you're wearing headphones, the one in your right ear, the need another chance to lie. Those are the pitches, and you hear it again here. And then, of course, the fade or the scream that comes afterward. That note. So he's high here. And this, for my range, that is absolutely going to be a mixed note. So let's take what we've applied to his voice so far in that clearly chesty range, and let's bring it up into mix. I've touched on this a little bit earlier in the video, but this is really going to be a chance for us to apply this. So, need. There is a strong mix. It's definitely thinner than what he's doing. He's got more grit, but we'll get there. Need another chance to lie! That's how I would approach it. Probably that's more, me naturally, but let's borrow from that feel of our lower chest resonance and see if we can squeeze with the false chords even more in terms of getting that compression-based grit. And then we're going to combine it with this idea of extreme breakup via our vocal break. I'll demonstrate this so it doesn't just sound like a bunch of talk. So, need another chance to lie! Okay, so that is purely compression-based, non-extreme. Now we're going to do this. I'm going to clean it up, and I'm going to let my voice crack. Need, so that's a clean mix. Need another chance to lie. Okay, now when I'm singing that high note, lie, that's a clean mix. I sound like the darkness, right? Lie. Now I'm going to back off my support and force myself to sing that in a pure head instead of a mix. But I'm going to make the transition and make my voice crack. I'm going to try to raise that break up to as high as I can to get to that pitch. You hear me blending the two? That's what gets us this. That's the feel that I rely on to get that cool sounding, more extreme breakup. So now we just have to be able to do that more dynamically, sense that feel, and then bring it up to that note. We have to be able to hit the notes cleanly first, though. Need another chance to lie. Yeah, let's add some breakup. Let's add some grit. I need another chance to lie. And then let it go. Let your voice do what it does, right? I hit that pitch. I added more and more grit. I let my voice break even more. Notice I'm saying let my voice break. It's this idea that we're using less and less closure with our primary vocal cords in order to engage our false cords with more air. So, let another chance to lie! That's really good regular closure. Now I'm going to add the compression-based grit, so I'm going to involve my false chords more, but still maintain closure, and my regular chords. Another chance to lie! That's more squeezed above my vocal cords. Then I'm going to let it break. So I'm, in a sense, I'm going to demote closure for my primary chords by letting my voice break, right? That's your vocal cords doing this and changing positions. Another chance to lie! And that's where you get that sound. Yeah, I need another chance to lie! Next. Now that last high note, that's a D sharp 5. So that's a pretty high mixed note. And it's fun to be able to incorporate all these different aspects of feel into getting that note in a bunch of different ways. Now we're going to go down and take a look at more chest resonance grit, which in some ways is more difficult to really dial in. Here we go. So here he's got this little bit of a different tone, right? He's still got that hyper compressed, right? And there's a little bit of grit you can hear. A good way to feel this is to let your voice go low. And then make sure that you're feeling whatever sort of heat. I like to use the word heat. It's not really a burning, and it's not a rawness, but it's this sense that you're engaging this area above your vocal cords. And when you go lower like this, you really can't tell whether it's above or below. You want it to be above. I might have just said the word below, but you don't want it to be below. You want it to be above. So, but you take your voice low so that you can feel it above. Like that. Now here, he's using this sort of bright, faces out of the way, but he is so firmly in chest that he's not really whiny. He's still chesty. And he's still open here. As I put there's a little bit of that going on, right? Higher larynx position slightly. I tried. I like how it's cleaner, and then when he goes up to that E vowel, try to drive all through the night. There's this nice natural breakup. Now, I think with my voice, it sounds better to back off a little bit. I'll show you what I mean. tried, right? I start sounding goofy. Tried. You get that weird tone in there, and that's not really what he's doing. He's not that broken up here. So it's good for me to remember that this grid is not a one-dimensional thing. It's a dynamic thing. Tried. That sounds good to my voice. For my voice. I tried to drive all through the night. Same idea. You're getting there from there, and then pushing it one step further to where you start to have that happen. Dry. That's more extreme. And you back it off. Dry to drive all through the night. Varying levels there. Next. Okay, now here, I like this because he's totally clean. Things aren't what they... Now, that high note, C, let's just sing the notes. Things aren't what they seem, is what I would do just normally. But if we're going to shadows it, we are going to use more compression. Things aren't what they seem. That is classic tone shaping with compression. Did you hear the transition? Things aren't what they seem. Now here, he's going into head resonance there. He's seamlessly going in. I pushed it from chest resonance. Seem! In this case, he's not doing that. He's dynamically changing resonances. Things aren't what they seem. Next. Let's take a moment and break the ice. I like this. Chest. Let's take a moment and break the ice. Let's take a moment and break the ice. Let's take a moment and break the ice. Now, that eek. Let's take a moment and break. We want that. Now let's add the matte shadows over it. Let's take a moment and break the ice. Let's take a moment and break the ice. Listen to break. Let's take a moment and break the ice. Break is actually a little bit cleaner, right? You hear that compression, that break. You hear that, and there's still some grit, but it's not, let's take a moment and break the ice. It's not that. He backs off just a little bit. Let's take a moment and break the ice. Break the ice. Let's take a moment and break the ice. Next. So my intentions are known. So my intentions are known. And then backing off on the compression-based grit and adding a bit of vibrato. It's really neat to understand that dynamically moderated compression-based grit. That's what he's so good at. So my intentions are known. Notice how known, by the time he gets to the end, it's pretty clean. So my intentions are known. So my intentions are known. I'm exaggerating on both sides a little bit, but that's what we should be doing. Let's get the feel down, learn how to play with it dynamically ourselves so that we can make it our own. So my intentions are known. 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 Interesting how different times when I try it and trying to moderate that compression-based grit in different ways, it ends up sounding more natural or less natural all the way through. Next. Fantastic example of clean matte shadows and still compression. Listen to his tone. If we're listening through the right auditory lens, if we're listening through the right speaker, mental speaker, we hear that there is this happening. That's how we sound. I'm exaggerating it, but there is some of that. This is not set me free or set me free or set me free. There's this sense of openness, dropped larynx, but there's also this sense of holding back energy. You hear that you hear that compression, and you hear it as a milder form of this. Set me free. We'll try it without getting the pitches first, but you hear the difference. Set me free. 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 Oh. There's this sense that we're getting a feel for right before we add too much compression to where it starts to break up. We don't want, set me free! We don't want that. We want, set me! So we're getting into our mixed voice here, which if you haven't seen some of my videos on mixed voice, be sure to check those out on the channel. This is going to help you with some of these higher, more demanding in terms of range lines. Set me free! Oh. Next, nice and clean on that one. Compressed, mixed, clean. That something would go wrong. Kind of a tonal departure from what we've heard him do. He's got that held back. That something would go right, but he's brighter here. Go, that something would go wrong. That something would go wrong. Now, when I'm getting that tone, I'm right on the edge of doing this. That something would go wrong. Where I'm bottoming out sort of in my false chord area. That something would go wrong. I have a sense for where that will happen, and I'm right above it. So you get that sort of sheen, not broken up, but also a little bit breathy. That something would go wrong. That would go wrong. That something would go wrong. That something would go wrong. There's also this imprecision that's happening. It's not something would go wrong. It's this kind of gooberish, that something would go wrong. Right on the edge there. Next. And last. This one's really extreme. But in some ways, I would start with this one. And I've exaggerated the other ones a little bit. But this one at the end encompasses, if we can get to this sort of ridiculous sound, dialing it back is easier. Ripped her heart out. Let's see. Ripped her hard. There's definitely an H there. Ripped. Yeah, it ripped her heart out right before her eyes. Get it clean first, and then go back and add that compression bass. Ripped her heart out. Ripped her heart out right before her eyes. I can't stress enough that this is not hard on your vocal cords. Otherwise, I couldn't talk afterward. It's not. Ah! That is a very different feel. It might sound similar. Yeah! It might sound similar, but it's not. And it has actually, I feel it here. And that's the problem when a lot of people start to sing like this, is they get the sound, but it doesn't feel right, and then they get hoarse, and then they ruin their voices, and yeah! Yeah! That is above. That's below. Above. Above. And my voice, my talking voice, goes right back to normal, right? I hope you've enjoyed this one on Matt Shadow's Avenged Sevenfold. I enjoy making these sing-like videos. Let me know what other artists you'd like to do. This one was a popular request, so that's why I made it. And again, if you want to take your voice to another level and learn some of the foundational things that allow you to do the things that you saw me do in this video, be sure to click the link below and join my free vocal course. We'll see you for more.